Councilmember Johnson. Today I just wanted to give a high-level City of Wichita update on the next steps in remediation for the ongoing 29th and Grove contamination site. Just for some contextual purposes for those who may not have followed as closely, I'll just give a general high-level outline of how we got to where we are today and then where things will go moving forward. So just to recap, this contamination of trichloroethylene in the groundwater is believed to have begun back in the middle to late 1970s. TCE is an industrial solvent used for cleaning metal parts and is also found in some household products like paint removers, spot removers, and furniture cleaning products. It took about 2 decades to be discovered in the groundwater, and that discovery occurred back in 1994, and the source later identified in 1998 after KDHE had completed its investigation and began to manage the project. It's important to note that as of 2002, Union Pacific Railroad has been working under a consent order, which is case number 01-E-0191, which is executed by KDHE on October 4th of 2002. It's important to note that all of the remediation work that was conducted between the year 2002 and the year 2023 was voluntary, but it was under the oversight of KDHE. All of the work since 2023 is being conducted under the corrective action decision that was finalized on February 2nd of 2023 by KDHE. The draft and release of that corrective action decision is what sparked much of what's ongoing right now with the issue in recent years. But I'm proud of how our city teams have worked through this. That would be the manager's office, our communications department, and public works, especially continuing to meet and talk through what this looks like and what we can do about it. They immediately sprung into action after being made aware of the enormity of this issue, and it is an enormous issue. And we immediately began to engage with local clinics, our partners at Sedgwick County, Union Pacific Railroad, as well as KDHE to get a better understanding of what needed to be done to fully address this issue. That work is well documented, and I won't recap all of that because it's a lot, as you can see from the slides, but there were 2 things that became very apparent and became my top priorities. First was, how do we engage in an intentional way that ensures that the soil and groundwater get cleaned up and safe for our residents as soon as possible? Second, how can we engage stakeholders to address the very real health needs of the residents who currently reside there or have lived there within the plume over the past 4 decades? There'll be much more reported out on that here in the coming weeks regarding the second priority. But today I'm happy to report about the first priority. For those that may have missed it, on Tuesday, my colleagues and I unanimously approved multiple lease agreements for right-of-way and public stormwater system usage with Union Pacific Railroad. With that approval, the City of Wichita has taken the necessary steps to allow the extraction wells to be installed that will ultimately clean the groundwater and remove the TCE. Again, that's a 10-year period of cleanup, but this clears the way for that to get started. While these extraction wells are not installed yet, as I hope they would be, and as you remember, I've continued to say I hope they will be installed this year, we have cleared the way for those to be installed in 2026. So as noted on Tuesday, residents living within the plume can expect to see construction begin of the extraction wells in the 3rd quarter of 2026. On Tuesday, the information that is being shared right now on the screen was shared with the community, and I hope everybody sees this is what they can expect to see at the end of the project. These shed-like structures will have the technology inside for the extraction wells, again, to get the groundwater into them, to get that cleaned, and to get the clean water discharged back into our stormwater system. The agreements that were made with the City of Wichita have allowed that, again, working with our team to make that happen. When you look at this map, anyone living in these areas, again, we'll see some construction next year. I know that many may have missed this on Tuesday, but I want to make sure that everyone knows that the next steps are happening. This is what they can expect to see. In this, a lot of this is underground, but you will see some above ground work. You can expect to get some notifications from the city about construction going on in these areas. And again, your council member will be engaged as well with this. There are 3 different areas, as you can see, where this is happening. And the other one over near Opportunity Drive. We have also been working with the Boys and Girls Club, as has Arcadis and Union Pacific, to make sure agreements there have been made to get this to happen. Again, until these extraction wells are in the ground and fully operational, you're looking at 10 years until that cleanup will happen. I wanted to make sure again that these maps, everyone can see those. If you live in these areas, again, 3rd quarter of next year, you can expect to see some activity. And when that project gets done, the community will be notified again that that 10-year clock has started. So with that, just to let you know, moving forward, next steps on the other side is Union Pacific has 180 days from Tuesday's council meeting to get final approval, drawings over to KDHE. During that time, Union Pacific has to conduct pre-design investigation regarding the routes for the pipeline placement in the road rights of way. And then once the design drawings are reviewed and approved by KDHE, KDHE will then reach out and schedule a public availability meeting as they had when this whole thing started. Again, KDHE will be reaching out, but as we've been working closely, we'll all be trying to let everyone know that's when that meeting is. The purpose of that final meeting is to let the public know again where the remediation sites will be, the ones I've just shown you, and also what to expect during construction. I'm personally looking forward to taking those next steps. As you recall, again, 2 priorities, making sure the health and wellness of the community was taken care of, but most importantly, that the groundwater finally gets clean and this issue is no longer an issue. So I'm happy that we've all been able to work together to get to this point. Again, for those looking to get more information about funding that was allocated, that will be released in the coming weeks, working with the Kansas Health Foundation. But other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions about what was presented and approved Tuesday or anything else moving forward.
So 3rd quarter, so is that fall of next year? Is that safe to say?
You're looking at late summer, fall of 2026. Get to the media first and then I got you.
I guess how exciting is it to finally get to this point to where we're going to be seeing some action? I know you're on your way out soon. This has been an ongoing thing, and now we're kind of in a home stretch of seeing action, right?
Yeah, rather than exciting, I'm satisfied that we're getting to that point. It shouldn't have taken this long, and this never should have happened. So where I'm at is I'm glad to see things are finally at a point where the city has cleared enough hurdles on our end to where now it's just the final steps to get those devices in the ground. And again, until that clock starts, it's still contaminated. And for the next 10 years after those devices get in the ground. So it's going to be key again that the folks in the area go get screened and tested to make sure that they don't have any health concerns. I hope the numbers are low, but again, we want to make sure people get screened and tested. So I'm satisfied that we're finally to the point. I'm disappointed, like I said Tuesday, that those extraction wells are not in the ground just yet, but we are making progress.
How long do you say construction on the wells plus the sheds to house them would take once that officially starts?
Union Pacific will actually have a better timeline available here pretty soon with that. I don't think it will be too long, but they'll have that. I mean, even when you look at the device that's at Murdoch Park right now, they're going to move that across the street, so you'll see one shed disappear and a new one pop up. But I'm waiting to hear from them about final detailed plans, and they'll have a more detailed timeline to give to the community.
You mentioned that the KDHE will kind of decide where the locations of these 2 will be after it goes to the whole approval process. Are the locations on 13th Street in Pennsylvania, were those just tentative? Near I-35, there were a couple, I guess, tentative locations that we had. Do those differ from the ones that the KDHE will decide on, or is that just kind of like a general vicinity?
So KDHE really is just approving the plan. So those designs where you see right now, that's what the city gave permission to with the council approval. So everything's approved on our end for those locations. KDHE just has to approve everything else at that point. Union Pacific has a lot of information they'll have to submit for KDHE to align with the plan that we approved as a council. So it should be in those locations. Saw a hand back there.
What about soil remediation? And are you confident of the funding being adequate?
So the soil remediation, part of their voluntary cleanup was removing some of the most concentrated toxin from the north end of the site already. The rest of the soil that would be contaminated just comes from the groundwater. I'm confident that once that groundwater gets cleaned up from everything I've heard, that should not be an issue. Funding-wise, Union Pacific Railroad has to pay for this. So the money's there. I know they have it. That was part of their ongoing agreement with KDHE. So I'm pretty confident the funding shouldn't dry up. Personally, in all the conversations I've had with Union Pacific, they've been chomping at the bit to get started. And I'm hoping that Tuesday's action gets that process going a lot quicker. But I think the funding's there, and I think the cleanup will happen.
What can be done to prevent this going forward? This was 20 years where people, they knew of the contamination, they weren't told. The damage is extensive. What can be done going forward to prevent this? Has there been that kind of discussion?
Yeah, we've, so since being made aware of this in 2022, we've had a lot of discussion about that. First piece, it's actually been more like 50 years because this happened towards the middle end of the 70s. Folks didn't find out for about 20 years, and now we're here in 2025, nearly 50 years later, finally starting the final cleanup of it. So it's been just about 5 decades. I think going forward, it's all about communication. So if something were to happen, communicating to KDHE talking to whatever county that is, if we're focused on Sedgwick County, reaching back out to Sedgwick County to let that health department know, letting municipalities know. One of the things we talked about early on was just regular communication. My predecessor said she wasn't aware of it. I found out about it when I got a letter from KDHE in 2022, and an environmental activist that I know reached out to me and talked to me about it as well. I think if there's communication every 2 years, no council member, no mayor, no representative, no senator will never not know about it, because there's regular communication. Hey, this happened, this is when it happened, this is what it is, these are the next steps. That's something that I want to encourage everyone in office to really think about and do. That may take more financial resources. Hopefully the legislature will allocate that to KDHE, but we haven't met anyone who's unwilling to do that. The real issue there is the resources and then coordinating getting that information out. It's key because we talk about this one issue, but there have been 3 major issues about this big in Wichita. There's one in West Wichita, there's this one, there's one in East Wichita. When you look at the contamination sites throughout the county, there's over 200. And not everybody knows that. Not everybody knows where to find that map. So I think we can modernize communication quite a bit and do better to let people know what's going on, what those risks are, and then what's being done to fix it. I will say that, just my personal opinion, money has historically been an issue for making companies pay for what they did, and I don't think that should be an issue anymore. What's right is right, and folks' life is more important than what cost the company. So I think that if we hold folks accountable for those things, we shouldn't see, if we do see an accident, because I won't say we'll never have an accident, we can see it remediated a lot quicker than this was.
Kate Drennan ran the water center, and when she was running the water center, there was 5 or 6 employees that were helping her. Over the years, the funds were cut till it was just her. And now when you call the water center, there's only a couple of people, 1 or 2 people that work there. There's no education they offer, there's nothing. That was set in place to clean the toxic plumes under the downtown Wichita area. At the same, really at the same time frame. So it's these cutting of employees that creates this situation, and it doesn't seem like that commitment from the government to make sure that we have environmentalists staffed. So the same thing happened with Sedgwick County. They didn't have enough environmentalists to check the movement of the plume, and then lo and behold, 15 houses down in Hayesville were pumping water with toxic chemicals. And they had to guess which way that plume was going, because they didn't have enough environmentalists working for them.
I will definitely take the water center critique under advisement and talk to staff. That hasn't been my experience. I've went down to the water center, been educated about why it's there. There's full displays in there and talked to staff about that. But definitely noted, we'll talk about that and see where to go. I can't speak to Sedgwick County. What I can say though is that contamination is serious. And I think that we all have to just do a better job being coordinated on knowing what the issue is and letting people know. Budget times are tough, as you've seen with the city council and some of our budget discussions. But I think, again, as we've all sat down, my experience through this with the 29th and Grove situation is we have a challenge, and everybody, communications on the city, the county, folks at KDHE, all jumped on the call and we tried to figure out what we can do about it. I do think going forward, we should plan better about how we can make sure that that information is out there on an ongoing basis. And even for folks like me, I'm a nerd, but some of that information is up here and kind of needed down here where you can digest it. We've got to work on all of that. I think we've all been very honest and transparent about that, and we'll continue to try to do better about making sure everyone knows what's going on and how.
I know you touched on it earlier, but touch on it again, just the importance of those folks in that area, making sure that they do the screenings and they keep doing the screenings.
Yeah, it's really important that if you live in that area and you haven't gotten your screen or test yet, that you do so to make sure that you don't have the symptoms of liver or kidney cancer. Again, some of that stuff can be present now. It may pop up in a few years, depending on how long you've been in there. I would always say just get an annual test, just to make sure. You don't want it to be a surprise when you get older in age and you're at a level where you can't do anything about it. And the goal with the funding that we were working for was to make sure that those tests would be free. And again, much more information to be announced on that here in the coming weeks. But my hope is that everyone who's lived in that Plume area or currently resides there gets a screen and test to make sure that they're okay. And it's never a bad thing to reconnect with your local clinics in the area anyway. We, especially as men, we got to do a better job of getting regular checkups and talking to doctors, and that's a great way to get your foot in the door, get screened and tested, but also do a regular checkup. You never know what might happen, and it's better to be healthy now than sorry later. All right, if there's no other questions, I appreciate it, and again, looking forward to getting these devices in the ground, people getting screened and tested.